Hello, my honeys. This is Kamara with the Black Dove Oracle, and this is another channeled message on a silent battle you fought and won. I think that Spirit brought this one forward because many of us have been, at least the beings I'm connected to on this channel, have experienced a victory recently, but it didn't come without having to face a battle. And so, Spirit is bringing this forward, maybe so that you can get your flowers, because some silent battles aren't always shared with other people. They may not be shared with people in our family. They may not be shared with people we work with. They may not be shared in our community at all. So we have 4 groups here. And let's see, I thought that I would try to put these groups up so that we can identify who we're on. and I promise that I do eventually get around to putting the timestamps in. Sometimes it just depends what I'm doing at the moment. But we are going to start with group number 1, and I hope you could see that. Scrolling at the bottom, we do have 4 groups. And so group number 1, I did initially pick some cards from my deck of many things, the deck of many fates. And the first card that came out for you, group number 1, was the Mercian Wolves. And it said here, your party is hunted by a pack of 16 wolves. Very interesting number. So I asked for some clarification here. And we got the Shroud card that says you instantly lose all memories of your past. And the Fool card. So I think that clarity really helped group number 1, because I believe the silent battle that you fought, at least in the most recent past, maybe for some of you, Spirit is pointing out maybe a year ago, but there's still like remnants of it, kind of, the victory of it was experienced not too long ago. But I think the start of this battle for you, group number 1, was about a year or maybe 2 years ago. It may be somewhere in and around there. But Spirit is showing me that your family was hit with a couple of major things. And Spirit is showing me, for one, that there might have been someone in your family that was diagnosed with dementia. Someone might have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So there's that piece. And then unfortunately, I believe that your family also experienced a loss. And I'm sorry for all of this, group number 1, and hopefully it's not too triggering to bring up. But the silent battle that you had to fight in the last couple of years was really, in essence, a lot of loss in the family, whether it was a loss of memory or a loss of health, and then actual loss of someone transitioning. And I think during this time, Spirit is showing me that some of you may have had a fairly new job. I think a lot of these incidents in your family happened around a time where you might have been in a new position. And it was something that you only shortly was able to celebrate. That's what I'm hearing. Before all of these other things happen. And it seemed like the timing of it felt like a domino effect. And it felt like to you at one point, it did feel like a pack of wolves was hunting your family. It felt like there might have been other, Spirit is saying there might have been some other smaller things that happened that you may have defined as negative, that might have very well been negative or not very positive, that's for sure. And I think there was just this moment of wondering, when is this going to subside? Is our family under some kind of curse? There was maybe even just thoughts in your mind of like, what is it that I have to do? Some of you might have even taken a chance and gone back to church, even. I mean, prayers, and others of you may have sought out maybe different types of support. That could have been going to psychics or mediums. That could have been some alternative ways of expressing your grief. It could have been there. And I think it was a silent battle for you, group number one, Spirit is saying, because it just quite, at some point, it felt like you were on your knees, like you were just never going to be able to get up. And where you started to win, because Spirit is saying this is not all doom and gloom, but where you started to win, group number one, was that you started to just free yourself of destructive impulses. Because I think during this time, some of you, not all of you, may have picked up some habits. Maybe you were drinking more than a glass of wine a night. Maybe you were checked out a little bit more with your partner or people close to you than you wanted to be. And I think for some of you, you went and you participated in some kind of healing ceremony. I'm seeing it here, like with some kind of shaman. The shaman could have been from South America, by the way. Someone who carried like two big feathers, like they're very unique feathers of a unique bird. So this is specific, but you may have been to some kind of healing ceremony that the shaman was facilitating. And I think before this ceremony, you may have been unsure if you were going to be able to fully participate, because I think a lot of this area of healing, maybe this person came highly recommended. People were talking about how well known this person is from where they came from. And I think it arose fears inside of you. Like, what if what I'm going through, all the grief, all the stress, all the overwhelm was not gonna, it may not, what if I don't heal from this? I'm hearing Spirit kind of, I don't know, channel through your voice even. What if I don't heal from this? What if my pain is too much? And I think there was something you experienced in this healing ceremony that gave you back your balance. It even allowed you to feel some compassion for yourself. I'm getting kind of emotional here because I feel like something shifted for you, group number one, in that healing ceremony. And you all take it where it resonates. It could have been a healing ceremony with a shaman. It could have been one that you went to at a church. It could have been one you participated in at a meditation center. Whatever it was, there was some kind of pivotal ceremony or ritual. Could have been a circle. It could have been group therapy. There was something you did that helped you look at some of your patterns some of the things that you may have adapted throughout this time just to manage the pain. And I think that how you won this battle, group number one, was to just see your authentic self, just to be in that space and to understand that this was a lot. And to also understand you couldn't throw it all away. You couldn't, for some of you, this is going to be very specific. Some of you may have even gotten in legal battles with family over wills or over, inheritance. And I think there was a point, group number one, where you realized that that was not going to bring back the person you lost. And you also understood that you all might have been, the family might have been using legalities to really avoid talking about the pain. Spirit is also saying here that one of the ways that you fought and won this battle was by starting to write down your story, to start to even write down or create the story of the loved one that you lost. For some of you, this was gathering together things that told this person's life story. If it wasn't the person you lost, it was your story, group number one. There's something you started to write. Some of you got back into writing or started writing, and it really started to help you. You were able to get out the feelings, because I think for many of you in group number one, it was hard to start to sit down and really have heart-to-hearts with your family, because there was just so much pain. And I think for a small group of you, just take it where it resonates, you did deal with some kind of addictive behavior. And I think you addressed it before it got really bad for you. But there were moments, Spirit is saying, where you felt like you compromised your integrity, where you kind of let this pattern have authority over you. And I think that healing ceremony, whatever you did, whatever you joined, it pivoted you. It helped you to recognize and confront these behaviors. So Spirit said you had a huge win there. In fact, Spirit is showing that you became a warrior. You started to use your strengths. You started to use your discipline. And you really started to conquer your ego even, group number one. And it showed as a victory for you. But this loss, it really brought you through some stuff, group number one. But I think what began to happen for you was, holding up the mirror to yourself and understanding that a lot of your pain was mirroring the pain of those left behind in your family. And again, just understanding that it felt like some kind of double whammy that happened in the family. And you saw where you had to be strong and you couldn't avoid anymore. And so you began to just help other people in the family. Once you got yourself together, you started to help other people in the family. And it turned things around. Especially when you figured out just to have no expectations, just to be there, to listen, to be present, to help with what was said was needed, even. Wow. So let me see if there is a final message that Spirit has for you in regards to this victory, because Spirit is telling me right now, group number one, it was hard won. It was hard won. You are, Spirit is saying, you are infallible right now. Like, you can meet some real difficult things right now and stand in your center. It doesn't mean that you don't feel disappointed, that you don't feel anger from time to time. But Spirit said you really fell into some kind of practice after that healing that allowed for you to stay grounded. So, what is the victory message Spirit has for you? It seems like two cards. It says bountiness, meaning to keep giving generously to your relationships. Just keep being generous in these relationships. And I think that means Spirit says there's still some people trying to heal around you. And the way that you've been handling it's been generous, not judging, not being critical, but just being very generous. And Spirit's second message is the Selkie, to come out of hiding and embrace who you really are. So I think what that means in terms of your victory, group number one, is you may at some point want to share this story, especially with some people who they knew you were going through something, but they also didn't know the depths of it. They may not have known all of what you were carrying. And it sounds like friends, sounds like colleagues that were really close to you. And I think people just gave you your space. But it may be, depending on the Spirit is showing me this in a couple of ways, because it depends on all of what you went through to help with that addiction, if you did have one. Spirit is saying it may also help some other people that are also battling the same thing. And this is just an example. I'm not saying that this is what you went through, but if you were, for instance, if you were drinking a lot and you had to like really do some things to become sober, it may help you to go to a 12-step meeting and share your story. It may help for you to volunteer within a group of people who are seeking sobriety. I get for some of you, you are of you may have some kind of profession that makes it hard for you to talk about addiction and then becoming sober. Maybe that's because your profession, there's some kind of judgment about it, or it could be risky in some ways, but Spirit is saying here that your story could help others people to heal when you're ready to tell it. When you're ready to tell it. That's how I'm hearing it. Whew. Okay, group number one, that was a heavy start. But I think you needed to hear this message from Spirit, and really congratulations on this win, because I know from the energy I'm feeling, it feels like it was truly a battle and truly a victory. Okay, group number one, I'm going to clear the energy. Thank you, group number one. And now we will transition to group number two. Welcome, group number two. This is Kamara with the Black Dove Oracle, and this is a channeled message. A silent battle you fought and won. So group number one was pretty intense, and I don't expect for these to be light at all, because battles typically are very harsh. They are some harsh things that we have to face. So I am just shuffling the cards, group number two, and clearing the space, and we will get to your channeled message. Okay. So group number two, I started with picking one card from the deck of many things, or the deck of many fates, because this deck, it's pretty good at the frame of what you might have been dealing with, group number two. So group number two, the battle, the silent battle you had to face was something around the government. And for some of you, I think it may get specific here, but there are 2-3 other groups you could choose from if this doesn't resonate. Group number two, it shows here that you had to deal with a vizier. A vizier is a government official, mainly kind of referencing Turkish culture. But for you, group number two, Spirit is saying you had to deal with a government entity. An entity that was probably represented by one, maybe two people, but this is someone you had to interact with. You had to face ever so often. So in my mind, I think that this is around immigration. It could have been around asylum for some of you, because Spirit is saying it could have gone on a spectrum, like you needed political asylum. Your family may have faced war in your home country. For some people, this had to do with immigration, getting a naturalized status. For others of you, you may have married a citizen of the place that you're living in now, but there was still a process for you to maybe get what we call here in the United States a green card, but it could have other terms if you're living in another country. But you had to face certain government officials, certain government, I'm hearing scrutiny. And while things might have been really great in terms of where you landed, maybe you and your family, take it where it resonates, it felt like this process to complete paperwork, it really was taxing. And it made you feel unstable. It made you feel as if you wasn't sure to invest in the place where you were, where you landed, or if you were going to have to suddenly leave if things were denied. And Spirit is showing here that it took an emotional toll on you, even if you weren't showing it around people who you knew. In many ways, I think you tried to find creative ways to get these emotions expressed because you knew you couldn't just bottle it up. And so Spirit is saying, in many ways, you won because you found an outlet. And it's kind of interesting because I'm looking at group number two's kind of avatar here. And it shows a woman who's kind of in a martial arts stance. So, I mean, this is specific, but, Spirit has called my attention to it, was that you may have taken up some kind of art form, martial arts form, or you might have done something creative. There was something that you decided to do as a practice that really helped you manage your emotions, group number two, because it was stressful. And trust me, I knew someone years ago that had married someone, I think from Brazil. And this person, I think my friend, they became pregnant. It was obvious that they were truly in a love marriage, but this government official really questioned questioned the paternity of her baby. There was just like a lot of really intense questions and scrutiny that they were under. So if this is your pile, group number two, you're going through something like that. I'm hearing government official scrutiny. And I think you may have been accused of doing things for financial gain, the kinds of things that maybe these meetings you would have to face in these meetings were, a test of your values and your morals. And I get for you, group number two, this is the first time you've ever had to face this kind of, I just keep hearing Spirit say, this kind of scrutiny. So group number two, there was so much of this that you wasn't sure about, like you felt like you were in this process with a blindfold on, like you're just trying to have a sense of positivity, but also you didn't know if you could really ever prove what your character was to someone who didn't want to see it, right? And so the Spirit was saying it was a battle many times of your character. And I think you had to keep Spirit showing me like a mantra or some kind of affirmation that just every day allowed you to keep moving on. Because there was something much more valuable to you than just even becoming a citizen. It might have been keeping your family together. It might have been, keeping your family safe. So that factored into a lot of it. Spirit is saying here that it was pretty draining of your life force. And so what you started to recognize is an energetic drain, because it felt like a lot of these meetings, they had a kind of vampiric energy around them. And you're just like, I'm not going to get sucked under from this. And maybe some of you found a community of like-minded people, or maybe even people in your culture that did a specific kind of martial arts I'm seeing, or some kind of dance, or maybe something else, but you joined in with them. And Spirit is saying this was pivotal in helping you to regain back your energy, to gain back your positivity, because it was a lot to deal with. Because I don't think that these government interviews or whatever they were, I don't think they happened back to back. They kind of like happened in spaces and time. So there may be times in between these interviews that you were living your life for months, and then these interviews would roll around again and you would feel like you were losing footing on what was keeping you positive. Spirit is pointing out here, group number 2, that you really began with this healing process through the creative process. You begin to really tap into your own inner authority. You tapped into your divine feminine in many ways. And this, I think it's like a dance form or martial arts form. I keep seeing both. It's kind of done if you're, and I'm sorry if this is very gendered, but it seems like it's a dance or art form that's done by women or the feminine. And it really helped you to connect with your feminine power. So that's what I'm seeing from Spirit, was that this practice of yours, it allowed you to even be in devotion to something, because it may be that some of this dance or martial arts has like a spiritual component to it, but it allowed for you to reconnect to your spiritual practice, to reconnect to yourself on the inside. And it really kept you from sinking into some negative space. Wow. So let's see what victory message group has for you, Spirit has for you, group number 2. Because it sounds like you really shifted things. And again, there's 2 messages. It says, Mother of salt water, passion, wild love, open heart, let love in. And the other one is the ripple effect. Part of something, you're part of something bigger. The details are taken care of. So group number 2, I really feel like Spirit is saying here, keep your heart open. Yes, there's been a lot that would make it stay closed. And Spirit is saying, when you are in this art form, when you're expressing, you are keeping your heart open. And also to know that your victory, it didn't just benefit you. It benefited your family, of course, but it also benefited those around you. Because I don't think that you really had to share what you were going through. I think people knew, but people also were witnessing your strength during this time. And they were like, wow. I think you inspired a lot of people, group number 2. You really did. And Spirit is saying, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Because you won the battle. You won the battle. Spirit is showing me some of you all have your papers, or you're very near to that point. And Spirit is saying it feels very positive. If you don't have your papers right now and it's close, Spirit is showing something very positive for you. But others, Spirit are saying, you already have your papers. You've been through the process. That was your victory. Okay, group number 2. Wow. Let's clear the vibe. Thank you so much for your strength. Group number 2, thank you for inspiring others around you. It didn't mean that everyone around you was going through the same process, but you showed them and demonstrated your strength. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to group number 3. Hello, group number 3. This is Kamara with the Black Dove Oracle, and this is a channeled message on a silent battle you fought and won. Group number 1 and 2, very deep, very deep. So I don't expect less from you, group number 3. In fact, 3 cards came out for you, group number 3. So we have the Serpent, we have Balance, and we have Titania. Very interesting. So group number 3, Spirit is showing that you had to battle some kind of illness. An illness that potentially could have been terminal, potentially. And Spirit is saying here, group number 3, and I'm so sorry for any suffering you've had, really sorry for any suffering that any of the groups have had. But they're saying and pointing out here that this battle with your health, it really did more than just physically impact you, group number 3. You had a really tough time with your mental health during this time because of some of the issues you were experiencing with your body. And Spirit is saying here that you had to make many sacrifices, many, to get well. And there were times where you didn't think, group number 3, you were going to get well. There were times when certain treatments didn't have the outcomes that you wanted. There were times, I'm seeing for someone in there, it's very specific, you didn't get accepted to some kind of medicine trial. Spirit is showing that your physical health, it actually, it took over your life, which, I have no doubt that's what happens. And so Spirit is showing here that it had an impact in every area of your life, your job, your finances, your family, your relationships with friends. For some of you, your relationships with a partner. For others of you, it really just overall showed you some things that were very hard to see, which was where your support was, group number 3, and where you didn't have support. And I think you saw, for some of you, Spirit is saying, some of you saw the writing on the wall with some relationships that you had. You may have lost friends during this time. You may have lost close business colleagues. You may have even experienced a rupture with some members in your family, I'm seeing. And so Spirit is saying here, group number 3, that even though this illness, you found a way to recover. You found a way to really tap into your strengths. You tapped away, you developed skills that helped you stay healthy. You had you had to develop a certain kind of toughness of your will. And you also had to sacrifice things that were keeping you stressed out. So when Spirit is saying that, I'm hearing you may have said, I have to choose myself over some of these relationships. And so in doing that, I think this is where Spirit said you started to feel a little bit more victorious. And you started to notice that your health, bit by bit, step by step, was getting better. And I think you had to, during this time, group number 3, Spirit is saying you had to have a single-minded dedication. Also like a selfless devotion to yourself, to your health, to getting better, because you saw that you may have to do a lot of this on your own. Unfortunately, group number 3, some of you had to do a lot of this on your own. You had to resource yourself. You had to social work yourself, your condition. You had to advocate with medical professionals. It was a tough road that you didn't always have energy for. But there was something Spirit was saying in your spirit, in your dedication to yourself. Some of you had to change your diet radically. And oh, wow, you have the God card here. God, Spirit is saying, this is, wow, these are really hard to channel, you all. And not hard, but just there's a lot of emotion I'm feeling here. And God is showing up saying, I saw you, group number 3. Spirit said, I saw you. I witnessed you the whole time. I saw your battles. I saw how, regardless of how someone was not supporting you or how they were supporting you, you saw how you met those moments with compassion. Because you recognize that God is in everything and everyone. I think during this time, group number 3, many of you became much closer to Spirit during this time. You really developed a deeper spiritual relationship with God, because you had to see some things that were not pretty in other human beings. And you still kept your faith. You still kept believing in prayer and the power of Spirit to heal you. And I mean, you were doing other things to help heal yourself, for real. I'm seeing you really take control of your environment, of the things you're putting in your body, of the kind of healing modalities you were getting. So Spirit said that was good, because it wasn't going to be just your faith. It was about really getting into a place of taking care of yourself. And for some of you, Spirit is saying you had to see and realize there were places in yourself where the outcome of this illness was because of caring and caregiving everyone else and not taking care of yourself. So you turned that around. and in many ways, Spirit is showing me here, group number 3, that you took the road less traveled to get better. You listened to some real radical thinkers out there when it came to health. And, you may have had people criticizing you. I'm seeing even some doctors. Oh, you don't need to make that change with your diet, or that's a little radical to just eat that way. But I think you stuck to it. You researched and you decided, no, you know what? I'm sick. I need to get better. I'm not going to take shortcuts with this. Yeah. And for many of you, like I'm seeing this over and over again, and Spirit is showing it to me, group number 3, you really became more committed to your spiritual practice. And for some of you, this is a psychic pile here, because I think you started to be able to channel Spirit during this time. If you just started to connect with spirit in a channeling kind of way, it might have been during this time, but spirit said you always had this gift. But during this time, there was something about your ability to sit with spirit and really hear the voice of spirit, really hear what spirit is trying to communicate. Some of you started to do mediumship, psychic readings. You might even have your own tarot channel. Let me know in the comments. But some of you really tapped into some kind of spiritual gift that allowed for you, group number 3, to channel spirit, channel your ancestors. So that was part of your win. Some of you are really great. Someone out there is a great medium. Like you see the energy of these spirits. And spirit is saying some of you might be helping people in the near future. Like once you have your own health solidly taken care of. I believe some of you do. Some of you are close to that. Yeah. So spirit's victory message for you, group number 3, because spirit says you most indeed have experienced a victory. It's water codes. It says ancient wisdom. The intelligence is inside of you. Yeah. Spirit is confirming you have a beautiful, powerful gift to be shared with people. Water codes. It makes me think that the element of water has something to do with it. This is going to be so specific for someone, but I'm going to mention it. Some of you may be connected to a water deity like Yemaya, Mamiwata, any of the mermaid, ocean deities. There's plenty. There's a pantheon. But some of you, that might be in your future too, to initiate. You might become initiated. Maybe you'll be a priestess or a priest of these deities. Okay, group number 3. Wow. First of all, congratulations, because it sounds like that journey to become healthy again was one that was not without its challenges, but one that feels, I imagine, so victorious right now. So congratulations, group number 3. I'm very happy that your health is back and that you've won this battle. I am going to transition out of this channeled message. Okay, thank you, group number 3. And we will now go to group number 4. Welcome, group number 4. This is Kamara with the Black Dove Oracle. And this is a channeled message, a silent battle you have fought and won. Group number 4, groups 1 through 3 have been very deep, not without some really deep emotions being felt. So you all are definitely warriors out here. And group number 4, I don't expect less here. I'm just shuffling the cards and clearing the energy so that we have a fresh channeled message for you, group number 4. Almost done. Just going to Shuffle one more deck here and spray some Palo Santo. Maybe a sip of water too. Okay. So group number 4. I picked an opening card for you from the deck of many things or the deck of many fates. In group number 4, your card was ruin. It says all forms of wealth that you carry or own have vanished. So group number 4, Spirit is showing me that you have gone through a major financial battle, a major one. For some of you, that it may have ended up in bankruptcy. For others of you, it could have been something that went to court, I'm seeing. For others of you, it may have put you in a situation where you had to move in with family. Spirit is saying someone had to move in with some friends even. Wow. Spirit is saying that for some of you, this lack of money, it really made it hard for you to figure out how to move forward, group number 4. I think Spirit has said that in many ways, prior to this monetary loss, you often experienced life as an offering, that you were very kind and generous and shared a lot of what you had. The Spirit is saying you had a free and loving heart. But during this time of huge loss, I'm not sure if Spirit is saying yet how you lost. I think for some of you, there was some kind of cruelty as that resulted in this loss. And Spirit said, because of Spirit is showing someone, I don't know if it's everyone who's listening to this group that's identifying with this loss, but Spirit is showing that someone was cheated out of this money. Like someone stole from you. Spirit is saying that for someone, they may experience this loss of money as a result of a divorce. So take it where it resonates. It's not everyone. Someone else could have gotten cheated out of money, maybe from a family member, maybe even from some kind of business dealing. Spirit said that this is also very similar to group number 3. You really had to develop a practice of compassion here. Group number 4. Not so much compassion for others, but compassion for yourself. Because group number 4, you went through a lot of self-criticism. A lot. Spirit is showing someone could have gotten cheated from an intimate relationship. So take it where it resonates. I'm sure there are quite a few different scenarios. Spirit's bringing my attention to the original card. Some of you, it could have been the result of some kind of accident where you might have been legally sued for, I don't know, but that's very specific. Wow. Spirit said that it's a really interesting group number 4. Like all the cards that are coming out with the archetypes have money on them. So here, Spirit is saying with the prostitute card that you really had to, not that you became a sex worker, but if it does fit for someone, it's work. But here, Spirit is saying that you had to do so much negotiating with the very little funds that you had. And you went through a time period, maybe some of you couch surfing, some of you living in situations that weren't entirely stable. You had to do and had to learn throughout this process, group number 4, how to renegotiate a lot of your well-being during this time. And sometimes you had to compromise your well-being just to have a place to sleep, just to have food on the table. Some of you had to take jobs that you were way overqualified for, to make ends meet. And it was a certain sacrifice, that Spirit is saying, a sacrifice of, Spirit saying, don't take this word negatively, of your ego, though, because you were well more skilled. But you had to take additional jobs. Maybe some of you had to drive things like Uber or Lyft, or you had to take on a second or third job. There was something there. For some of you, this was also done in addition while you were parenting. And really being in the struggle, and at the same time showing your children or child love, nurturing, patience, and joy. Some of you during this time even had a baby. Maybe you were pregnant during this time or had a small baby. And you had to resist feeling guilty for bringing your children into the situation. I think whatever the situation is, group number 4, it happened suddenly, or it was not it was nothing that you could have planned for at all. Yeah. And I think for many of you, you saw, if you do have children, you really did a lot to maintain their innocence and their purity. You did a lot to keep them in their child role. You didn't want to parentify them. You didn't want them to see you having to struggle and negotiate and feel frustrated. And I mean, I think there were times where your children might have witnessed that. And Spirit is saying, at some places in life, our children are going to see that their parents are human and your parents have human struggles. Spirit did see that a beautiful turning point, Spirit said, that they witnessed in you was that you brought back your gift of something that has to do with your voice. So either spoken word or poetry or singing. For some of you, for someone, it's singing. And Spirit said it was so beautiful to see you transmute your pain through singing or through your voice, because I don't want to say it's only singing. Someone out there has a beautiful voice, whether it's a poem or spoken word about your experiences and your pain, or singing or speaking. There's something here. There's a person out there that maybe you did some preaching. Okay, that's very specific, but maybe somebody, let me know in the comments if you started to do some sermons. Okay, but some of you, Spirit said, this was how you began to win the battle. Wow. The Spirit is saying there is somebody out here who is, if you are not feeling like you're popular now, you're about to be popular, but I think you are. Either you have a social media presence, or people are coming to hear you speak, sing, whatever you're doing, group number 4. Spirit said, Because it's like literally in this poet card, it's like birds are flying from your mouth, white doves. So it's like liberating. You liberated yourself through your voice. Your voice became a prayer. This is what Spirit is saying. Your voice became medicine, not only for you, group number 4, but for many people in your community. Group number 4, Spirit is saying here, wow, another emotional moment. But Spirit is saying here, if you do not know how much of an impact your voice has, Spirit wants you to know that very soon you will know. You will know from your popularity. Wow. Let me know who you are, group number 4, because Spirit is saying that is how you won this battle. That is how you look, you got the alchemist. I mean, literally, you alchemized your condition. You transformed gold, like what is it? What do we transform? What's the alchemical thing? You transform silver into gold or something like that. Like you, Spirit is saying this very specifically, and I don't want to lose it. Spirit is saying that even the alchemy of you changing your narrative, how you spoke about your condition, of maybe you went from speaking words on poverty to speaking words on your own elevation, on your own self-worth, of seeing, like, you started to speak more positively, group number 4, about who you are. And Spirit is saying here, you don't know, but this transmuted how your world showed up for you. Wow. Like literally, group number 4, Spirit said that you use the magic of your voice. And again, you purified that loss. That monetary loss became purified because it had to experience a transmutation in your heart and in your spirit. Some of you during this time found a beautiful partner, someone very supportive of you. You may have found love. If you haven't found it yet, Spirit is pointing to there's someone who has seen your growth, who's watched you win this battle. It's probably someone who's even helped you in many cases. This person loves you. Group number 4. Could be intimate, but it could be platonic too. So Spirit lastly is saying here that you are now in the hearts and the minds of people around you a powerful shapeshifter. They saw you rise like a phoenix from the ashes, group number 4. And it's almost as if, and Spirit's kind of having me smile a little bit with this, but people are like, they have no excuse. They saw what you did to rise from a literal ruin. That's what this card said, ruin. They saw you rise from the rubble of that, group number 4. And when you did that, you quite literally lifted the level of consciousness that you were living in. You saw, and you do continue to see, group number 4, Spirit is saying this, you continue to see potential in everything. You see the lesson in everything. And Spirit is saying here, group number 4, because of that, you will never lose again. You will never lose again. What's the victory message here from Spirit for group number 4? What's the victory message? Of course. Group number 4, beneath the surface. What's really driving you? True motives, breaking free. And there's an image in this card, group number 4, where the being is just above these icy waters, meditating, free. at peace, because you broke through the layers of ice. You broke through the things that were supposed to keep you down. And you quite literally became victorious. Okay? Congratulations, group number 4. That's the kind of story that's so inspiring. That's so like you are a superhero in many people's minds. And this past story of ruin, I don't think you're going to start to run into people who will never believe it. They'd be like, no way. Not you. Not you, group number 4. Okay. So group number 4, woo, another one. I feel so honored to have been able to channel these stories of victory because they were tough. I really felt the energy of those challenges, but I also am very glad that Spirit allowed me to feel the victory as well. And I'm so glad that I listened to Spirit about this channeled message. They said, this is a good one. This is a good one. This one, a silent battle you fought and won. So group number 4, if you resonated with any or part of this reading, or if you're listening to all of these readings and you've come to the very end, thank you. Thank you. And if you don't mind giving me a thumbs up, or if you like the way that I read and channel, please consider subscribing to my channel, clicking the bell, because you get notified when I upload new readings, which is like 2 to 3 times a week. And any comments that you have about your victories, I welcome them in the comments. I do read all of them all the time. Okay, my honeys, this was lovely. Take care.